So hello. I am Zakiya Monique, Master Relationship Strategist, Transformational Speaker, Bestselling Author of Killer Connections, and I'm also the illustrious host, founder, and facilitator of the Woman to Woman community. If you want to join our community, you certainly can. Um, bit.ly/ZM Woman to Woman, bit.ly/ZM Woman to Woman. This is a place that we come, you learn, love, lament, laugh, grow, all of the things. And we're just letting you into a piece of what we're doing because even though I talk about relationships, understand that relationships are the cornerstone of life. Okay. So relationships, in the way that I talk about them, span far beyond just your man, your woman, your boo, your bae, your girlfriend, your whatever you want to call it. It spans far beyond that, right? Relationships are the cornerstone of a life. And so we're talking about vision planning today because that's all a part of a life. So all of this ties in together, okay? And so this is part one. Okay, this is just part one of our vision planning process that I offer to my clients that I'm working with at the top of the year, typically, okay? Now, what are the objectives here? First of all, the objective here is to help you craft a blueprint for the year via prayer and a strategy from heaven. Now, if you don't believe in heaven, God, and all of that, you can replace that with whatever you believe in. I don't force a person to believe like I believe, okay? But I believe in God, so that's what you'll hear me say, all right? So we want to craft a blueprint for the year via prayer. I believe that, like, everything is birthed out of prayer. Too often we do not involve God in the beginning, and then here we are begging Him to come in and fix some things in the end. No, we wouldn't have as much to clean up. I firmly believe we would not have as much to clean up in the end if we involve God in the beginning. So I want to help you craft a blueprint for the year via prayer and a strategy from heaven. Number two, I want to help you, help you advance your plans beyond the vision board, but to couple that with the plan. See, listen, vision boards didn't work for me. And what I mean by that is I used to have a vision board at the top of every year. I used to do vision boards with my clients, and I promise you, it seemed like I was putting the same things on my vision board every year. And I was like, this is not working. And if you know me, you know I have a very, very low tolerance for things that don't work. Like, I'm ready to dip. Let's go. Let's do something else or let's move on. And so one year I realized that a vision board is just, just looking at this board doesn't necessarily move me to action. And if it does move me to action, what am I going to do? Right. And so I started coupling my vision boards with a plan. And it was like, and then things started coming off the vision board so fast that I no longer have them. I don't do them anymore because literally I could do a vision board now and I would have to change it before the end of the year because things literally come off of the vision board. Okay. So, just that fast. So, with that being said, we're going to couple that with a plan. This is also to help you create a plan to follow that will result in you getting the results that you desire for God's glory. Okay. Again, you can put on your vision board that you want to go to Hawaii this year. You ain't said what year you want to go. You ain't said how much Hawaii costs. You ain't said if you got PTO time. You ain't said how much you're going to save every month. So just looking at that board and that pretty picture, what does that mean? Like, what is that going to do? Nothing. But we got to have a plan. And so by the time you finish with parts one and two, it is, if you follow the process properly, you will walk away with an actual plan that will help you to reach the goals that you want to reach. Okay. So that's what we're doing. All right. But this is just part one. Okay. One part at a time. I love quotes. And so one of the quotes that I want to talk about today that hopefully it will resonate with you is that an hour of planning can save you 10 hours of doing. When you plan properly, I promise you, 1 hour of planning can save you 10 hours of doing. And I really believe this is true. I know it's true for me. And that's why I love to plan. Now, I'm not telling you that there are not times where we have to just go with God's flow in my view. I'm not telling you that. But ultimately, we gotta have a plan, a strategy or something. My gosh, we just can't just walk around amiss wandering, right? I mean, that won't get you to where you want to go in most cases. So when it comes to personal goals, like what is your purpose? A lot of people don't know their purpose. And if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. If you have a pulse, you have a gift. At least one. Okay. Everybody has at least one gift or one thing, right? That they can do or that they were created to do. But many of us don't know what that thing is. Like some of us may guess, or we may, like maybe it's this or maybe it's that. And it wasn't until 2014 that as I watched my dad struggle, I realized that my dad had been operating in his gift for 50 of his 59 years. So for 50 of my father's 59 years, my father sang. That was his gift. It was very clear. My dad transformed into another person when he got that microphone and sang a song. And so it was crystal clear that he had operated in his purpose for over 50 years. But it made me wonder, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? And so I started really seeking purpose. Lord, what am I supposed what do I, what did you create me for? And some questions came to my mind, like what comes effortlessly for you to do? Like what would you do even if you didn't get paid for it because you love it so much? And some of us think that it got to be, directing like Tyler Perry or a show like Oprah Winfrey. No, sometimes it can be you're an amazing organizer. You can go through a room and organize a room. Like whatever your thing is, that is your thing, right? Some of us are sitting on $1 million gifts and we're poor, right? But God gives us the power to get wealth, but you sitting on it. And you sitting on it because you don't realize what it is because it's not as big in your mind as the next person. So, as we're looking at these personal goals, remember that, hey, all of this stuff should be leading to your purpose. It should be fueling your purpose. Okay. But what would you do? If you don't know what your purpose is, seek God. What comes effortlessly to you? What would you do if you didn't get paid for it because you love it so much? And then as you're looking at your goals, are your current goals realistic and specific enough for you to achieve? Many times I want to go to Hawaii. When? Where? How much? We don't know the answer to none of that. But we got the goal. I'm going to Hawaii. I just know I'm going. No. That's not realistic or specific enough for you to achieve. That's why it be on your vision board every year. Do you have any current goals? Some people don't have no goals. They like, well, we just gonna see how this go. Okay. Um, the process that I'm gonna share with you today will require you to get up close and personal with you to ensure that you do enough adjusting for those goals to come off of the boards and those plans to come to life. But here's a disclaimer: you cannot want the results but reject the process. You just can't. And you have to understand that after you have this plan, every yes is a no somewhere and every no is a yes somewhere. If you have a goal, understand that you have got to say no to everything that don't get you to where you are supposed to be. I'm not talking about say no, no, I can't take you to the store. No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about no to behaviors and patterns that get you off track, that distract you, i.e., scrolling on social media for 2, 3 hours a day when you could be actually working on something to get you closer to that goal. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? And so if you're willing to do the work, the results will come. But you will need to take, after you create your goals, you will need to take each of your goals through these 10 areas. Yes, I said 10 areas, but don't be scared away. It's not that long. It's not what you think. But here's the thing that this will do for you. It's going to narrow your list of goals because some of us have 99 goals and achieve one or none, as opposed to having 3 to 5 and achieve them all. So, what would you rather have or do? Give me the 3 to 5 big goals, and I kill a game and get all of those, as opposed to I got 90 goals that make me feel like I'm going to accomplish all of this year, and I accomplish one or none. So, what this is going to do, what this process is going to do, is going to make you realize, wait a minute, I don't need 90 goals. Give me 3 to 5 goals, like solid goals, and let me achieve all of those. Okay. Now, I believe in God. If you don't, that's okay. Again, but for those who believe, this is where we stop and pray. Because as you develop your goals, you want to partner with God. And in that partnership, you want him to be the leader, right? Because he know the future. So if I'm playing with somebody, I want to play with the person who knows the future, the one who created me, who knows my heart, who knows who I need to be involved with, who I need to partner with. I want him to help me to know who needs to be involved, who can go with me, who can't go. Like I need to partner with that person, but I want him to be the leader. And so this is where I want you to really stop and take the time to pray. If you believe, if you don't, that's on you. But stop and take the time to pray and ask God to come in as you develop these goals and sit in silence for a good 30 minutes or so and take the time to develop your goals. Now, if you want to keep the video rolling, you can, but don't skip this step. If you want to keep the video rolling for the purposes of you just getting through the information, yes. But when you finish this, stop and pray before you make these goals because we certainly want God to lead us through that process for those of us who believe, okay? Now, I want to tell you that this has worked for me for both tangible and abstract goals. It's worked so well that, again, I don't even use vision boards anymore. I just make plans on paper because there's no sense to me taking the time to tape all this stuff on the board, all these pretty pictures, and the stuff come right on off. Like literally. So, you know, let's go. Like it's time. If you're ready, then let's go. All right. So I want to talk to you real quick about the problem. The problem is that vision boards are a fad that most likely don't produce, and I just told you why. Okay. Pictures on the board don't make you do nothing. Another issue is our goals have not been through a process. You can't, and then we want the results of a process, but not the process. We can't skip it. We got to go through the process. Okay. And then we do not have a realistic strategy, but we're getting ready to come up with one today. So here it goes. Number one, the first area that you're going to have to look at is mindset. You must renew your mind. But how? First of all, you have to start identifying what obstacles are in your way concerning the way that you think. Are there triggers from your childhood that tell you things about money, for instance? Are there things that you believe about your health and wellness, for instance? Do you believe that you can do what you're setting out to do? Some of us are setting out to do something and we don't even think we can do it. Now, I'm not telling you that we won't sometimes have, some trepidation, you know what I'm saying? Because this is a big goal, this is a big dream. I've never, done a big order like this or something like that. Of course. But we have to renew our minds because old thinking will not open new doors. Your purpose is big and it will bring a little bit of hesitation, but just enough so that it will remind us that we need our partner, which is God. It should not, however, bring stagnancy due to procrastination, which is being birthed out of fear. It should not, however, bring stagnancy due to comparison, which is birthed out of imposter syndrome. It should not, however, bring stagnancy due to triggers which have been birthed out of childhood trauma. See, I had an aunt who spoke over my life that I was fast and I was gonna have a baby soon. And when she was saying all this, I was a virgin. I like boys, but the answer was no. I was really focused mentally on doing what I had to do. It was really literally books before boys because boys bring babies. I believed in that, right? And she spoke that over me. Yeah, that's the one you need to watch. She gon' get pregnant quick. If I would have believed that, that would have happened. If I would have just gave up on my goals and dreams because of who she was to me or what she said about me, I would have, I would have just drifted away to the side, possibly. However, I didn't. And just to be honest with you, the things she spoke over me ended up happening to her children. And that's why you got to watch your mouth. You got to watch your mouth and the things that you speak over other people and the things that you say because you could be bringing a curse on your own children or yourself. Okay. When I was in college and I did finally get into, to guys or whatever, and I got pregnant, they said, oh, she ain't gonna finish college. I got 3 degrees. Why? Because I didn't believe what was being said, but you got to condition your mind for that. You got to condition your mind for that. What is your mind conditioned to believe? What do you believe about you? What do you believe about God? What do you believe about whatever your higher power is? What do you believe about it? Because we come up with all these goals, but we don't even believe we can go to Hawaii. We don't even believe we scared to fly. We don't even believe we can do this. We don't even believe we can do that. And I'm not telling you that you may not be a little afraid because it seems big, but I believe I got what I need for the first steps to happen. And so what about your mindset needs to change for you to accomplish this particular goal? That's what you're going to be asking yourself about each of those goals, okay? Number 2, health and wellness. Your health is a major part of your wealth. I used to say health is wealth and that's it, but your relationship with God is a part of your wealth too. That's what I believe, okay? And so it's one thing to lose weight, but it's another thing to gain health and change your lifestyle to sustain that change. A whole lot of us want to just lose weight so we can look good in our pants, so our booty could look like this, so this could look like this, so we can be shaped like this, so we can be okay. Yeah, that's all good and cool. But it is one thing to lose weight, but it is another thing to sustain, to gain health and change your lifestyle to sustain that change. This is why many people gain the weight right back. Okay. I didn't understand this, nor was I willing to take accountability for my own health. I'll talk about me. I blame genetics. I got mad at the doctor for telling me the truth, and I was frustrated as I watched the scale continue to go up. First, I was on one pill, and before long, I was on 5 different pills. And it was almost like I had an epiphany one day. Like, wait a minute, baby. Wait a minute, baby. You cried about being on one pill. How you get cool with being on 5? I was on 2 blood pressure pills, 2 acid reflux pills, and one very light thyroid pill. But baby, wait, how? When? Like it happened so quickly. But it actually doesn't happen quickly. The body warns us. But we just turn up the music like we do when the car make a noise. When the car make a noise, you just turn up the music. You start getting acne, you get a headache, joint pain, you burping, excessive gas, digestive issues, and your body is saying, hey, stop. And we keep right on busting that food down because it's good. But oftentimes, it's not even that the food is good as to why we're doing it. It's because the food is comfort. The food is friendship. The food fills a void. The food don't judge. The food is comforting. But food wasn't meant to be our friend. It wasn't meant to be our comforter. It wasn't meant to be our fellowship. It wasn't meant to even be fun. The food wasn't meant to be nothing but fuel for us to move forward and do the things that we're supposed to do. It took me a long time to learn that. And there are many other things that we do not know, but that's not an excuse. The Bible says that the people perish, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. But isn't it amazing how knowledge is at our fingertips and we still won't go and find what we need to feel better and be better? But that's because when we know it, now we're responsible for that information. And it's so much easier to say, I didn't know, and still bust down whatever we want than it is for us to get the information and then be accountable. However, what I have learned, and believe me, I'm not perfect by far, but I've learned the following things. Number one, nobody escapes the process. You want the results, you can't skip the process. Number two, you must do the work and adjust your life to sustain the change. Otherwise, you'll go right back to where you were or worse. Number three, why has to be deep enough to fuel. This means that your motivation must be high enough to keep you while you build discipline. We'll talk about that a little bit more later because when motivation wanes, discipline got to kick in. But this all comes from a renewed mindset, consistency, and a reminder of why you're doing this in the first place. And last but not least, nothing you produce will be best until you are. Nothing you produce will be your best until you are your best. So when you're looking at your goals, the second area you want to look at is how does your health and wellness need to change for you to accomplish this particular goal? Because the truth of the matter is, if you're sluggish and you don't feel good and you're tired, how are you going to accomplish anything? How? How? Okay. Number three, narrative of self-talk. What are you saying to you about you and others? See, everything starts in the mind. This is why the first area that I recommend you taking your goals through is mindset. But many of us will not start with mindset because that can be challenging. And, it doesn't always produce immediate results, immediate changes. So we go after money and tangible things Then we lose those things because the same old mindset can't carry you to the next level, to the new level. We do not pour old wine into new wineskins. This looks like you going after money in business or vocation in the way of new contracts and promotions at jobs and things like that. And then you get them because sometimes God will let us have what we think we want. And then bam, we don't have the character or the business acumen or the personal development or the work ethic to keep it. This looks like you going after the man or after the woman and you marry that person and neither of y'all were ready for the marriage, but y'all was just ready for the wedding and the celebration. But how did this happen? You told yourself you were ready. That conversation with yourself said, I deserve this. I deserve that. I deserve love. I deserve to be able to have some ice cream. I deserve this. I deserve that. I remember I wanted a certain car. I had the credit for it, but my income was not yet at that level. And I could have still gotten it because at that time I used to use my father's name. So my father would buy the car for me. I would co sign for insurance purposes because the insurance in his name was cheaper, right? And so God said, not yet. Well, that not yet felt like a no. And then someone that I felt at the time was less deserving because they didn't work hard for it at all. They're, they was in the streets. They drove up with my car. Sugar baby. I cried. Cause Lord, why? He said, I'll show you. Maybe a year and a half later, their car was repoed, and I'm not in any way rejoicing. I don't rejoice over people's downfall. Because we both could have had the car, right? I don't want you to lose yours for me to get mine. I don't feel that way. But a year and a half later, their car was repoed. Um, and it was taken because of how it was ill gotten, right? So it was taken. But when I got mine, I never missed a payment. And he didn't give me one car, he gave me three at a severely discounted price. See, my conversation said I deserve it. I'm going to get it now. But if I didn't have a relationship with God, my voice would have been the loudest. And guess what? It would have been destructive to my goals. Many of us struggle in the same way with tangible and abstract goals because it sounds like this. I deserve this ice cream because I've been doing good. All of a sudden, one ice cream treat turns into 2 weeks or 2 months of destructive eating. It sounds like this. He probably cheating because my last man cheated. Now you riding all around his job or searching his phone as if God will not show you what you need to know. You stressed, smooth out. Did God even tell you get in the okay? Number three, it sounds like this. This did not work for me last time, so it ain't gonna work for me this time. Meanwhile, last time your tools was broken, you wasn't consistent, your mindset was toxic, you had no discipline. But this time, God told you to try again, but you told yourself it wasn't gonna work. The problem with negative self-talk is that if you do not have a relationship with the higher power, and you don't have a friend or somebody who just knows you, like really, there's nobody there to intercept, interrupt, or disrupt that mental pattern. This is why the enemy loves to isolate. Think about it. Whether it's through depression and anxiety, a controlling narcissistic man, or toxic relationships, or offense and unforgiveness, the enemy loves to get us by ourselves and to ourselves with hopes that our offended minds, depressed minds, anxious minds, or disconnected minds will become the loudest in our ears. Why? So that we can destroy ourselves or delay God's plan for our lives. So, how does the conversation that you have with yourself need to change to better align you with the word of God or whatever it is you believe for you to accomplish this particular goal? Because what you're saying to you matters. Because 9 times out of 10, you believe it. All right. Number four, environment. It is not long before what is around you will get in you and either improve you or infect you. I'll say that again. It is not long before what is around you will get in you and either improve you or infect you. The five people around you impact five major areas of your life: your goals, your thoughts, your beliefs, your income, and your weight. Goals, thoughts, beliefs, income, and weight. That is your vocation, your education, your mindset, your spirituality, your philosophies, your creed, your emotions, your money, and your health. And those areas are far too important for us to not be more selective about where we're hanging out or who we are hanging with. Would you agree? Our environments in some ways have shaped us. If you grew up watching violence, when violence occurs, your environment has caused you to be desensitized. Somebody get killed, you're like, oh, okay. Shooting happens, shooting outside, they just shooting. Just duck. It'll be over in a minute. Why? Because we used to it. If you grew up in a healthy environment, you knew how to cultivate that type of environment for your children with laughs and healthy conversations, right? But for the most part. No, I ain't say 100%. But for the most part, it would be easier for them than somebody who was toxic. I'll put it that way. But if you grew up being abused, you know just how to curl up to absorb them punches or how to become immune to the yelling and cursing. The problem is that when we go out into the world, we expect the same thing that we experienced at home until we heal or until we're exposed to something different. So the ones exposed to a healthy environment may bump into those that didn't and get used and abused or totally misunderstood. And then the ones who were exposed to the toxic environment have sat in the dysfunction for so long that they think it's normal and feel as if anything peaceful is boring. So this is why you get the young women who don't like the boring guy. He boring. He not boring. He peaceful. But because you ain't peaceful and you're not used to peace and you full of hell, you want to get it started. And so either you nitpick him until he want to punch your face off or whatever. So you will birth toxicity for it to feel familiar. This also looks like getting to the brink of success. And because you expect things to go wrong in life, because maybe you've faced a lot of disappointment, you make the other shoe drop. You sabotage the contract. You sabotage the relationship. You sabotage the opportunity. So you can say, see, this would always happen. But this has to stop because it's no place for it at the next level. The Bible tells us to count up the cost. So stop and look around. What's no longer serving you well in your life, whether it's tangible or not? What is expired in your environment? Expired things eventually spoil. And we should not have to have the stench of spoiled things for us to make a change. Don't get stuck here because you allow the length of a thing to outweigh the strength of a thing. We've been friends since second grade. Well, if we ain't clicking now, we might need to back up. We might need to time out, or we may need to go our separate ways because maybe we've made some changes and some different decisions and have some different patterns in our life that don't agree anymore. And I'm not saying that we can't be different and still be friends, but what I'm saying is, how can two walk together except they agree? They got to agree on the major things. There are some non-negotiables that we have in our lives, and we have got to agree, right? Many of us struggle and suffer from toxic loyalty because of how long we've been with someone. But even our friendships should water us, should nourish us, or challenge us to develop. So, what about your environment or who in your environment needs to change or go for you to accomplish this particular goal? And remember, when we say change, we're not giving ultimatums for people to change. We ain't even giving announcements about our change. We're simply praying, asking God for wisdom, discernment, and strategy, and moving accordingly. God will show you the hearts of those around you. And when He does, make sure you ask for strength and instruction for you to handle it. All right. Next up, boundaries. Changes shift from temporary to permanent when boundaries are enforced. Boundaries are not meant to be ultimatums to make people do what we want them to do. Not at all. Boundaries are not meant to punish people. Not at all. But they are simply ways to instruct people on how to get the best results from us. Boundaries are about you. They're about me and how to take care of us or ensure that we, get the best out of the relationship too. Make sure that when you get in this relationship, in this friendship, in this partnership or whatever, you don't have to leave you or your needs behind. But the problem is that we have become amazing at establishing boundaries, but our enforcement of boundaries, if I may say so, is sheer trash. Why? Number one, because we're afraid of losing people. As soon as we enforce the boundary, they say, I'm leaving. We say, never mind. Never mind, because we scared of losing people. But baby, may I ask you today, aren't you afraid of losing you? Matter of fact, you should be more afraid of losing you than them. Further, the only people who do not respect your boundaries are the ones who are benefiting from you not having them. So some people, places, and things need to fall off of your life for you to keep having a life. All right. Another reason why we are not good at enforcing boundaries is because change is different. It's hard sometimes. Another level will require another level. Okay. And sometimes it's hard at first. I remember watching the first episode of Snowfall. It was a hard no for me, but my daughter kept encouraging me to watch it, and soon I couldn't wait till the next episode. I remember the first time I got on the treadmill, the first time I lift weights, the first time it's like, hey, it's a hard no for the sister. No, thank you. Sister said no. But when we keep going, understand that any change worth making and anything worth having will require an adjustment, and you got to get over the hump. Another reason why we don't do well with enforcing our boundaries is because we don't like accountability, and enforcing boundaries keeps us accountable to what we said we gonna do. I'm amazed at how long I showed up for everybody else but not me. I literally kept my word to everybody else but myself. Now I'm careful about even giving my word out to others because I consider my word to God first, myself next, and my responsibilities after that. Then I can tell you what I might do for you. So, what boundaries need to be established and enforced for you to accomplish these particular goals? All right. Up next, current spending. If you look at where you spend your money, if you look at where you spend your money, for instance, you will find what you treasure or value most. Money is a tool. However, think about a hammer. It can be pointless without a nail, now can it? Depending on what you're trying to do. Well, money without wisdom leads to poor stewardship or poverty. Look at the lottery winners. Most of them are broke in less than a year. Why? No wisdom. We are not to love money. We are not to chase money. We are not to do anything for money. We are not to even focus on money. God told us not to even be overly concerned with tomorrow. He says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all those other things will be added. Money is only the answer to all things in the world, but there are some things that money cannot buy. And those things, in my view, become more and more valuable as we live on. Now, if we take spending a step further, one of those things that money cannot buy, but that we also spend is time. So not only do we need wisdom on how to spend money in a way that it works best for the kingdom of which we are a part, and therefore our lives are a part of that, but also we need wisdom on how to spend our time. Time is the most precious commodity that we have. We cannot advance it, nor can we return it. We simply have now. We do not own it. We simply manage it, and we do not even know the balance of which we are managing. But we're often guilty of wasting time or allowing people to waste our time. But remember, time is life. So when we're wasting our time or we're allowing other people to waste our time, we're really wasting life or allowing them to waste our life. And so the enemy no longer needs to destroy us as much as, he did in the past. Now he can simply distract us. And if he can distract us, then he can delay us from doing the thing that God called us to do. What does that look like? He uses relationships. He uses social media. See, the wrong relationships will have you all messed up. Social media will have you thinking you don't have time for nothing. But if you take those 3 hours you were scrolling, television programming is programming. It programs you. You look at the cheeseburger, now you got a taste for a cheeseburger. You're looking at pizza, you got a taste for pizza. It's programming. Offense and unforgiveness can delay you. Video games, casino, exhaustion, not getting enough rest. Rest is godly. So what needs to change in how you're spending your time or your money? Or how do you need to become a better steward of time or money for you to accomplish this particular goal? All right, next up, personal development. Personal development is the fuel that keeps the cars going. But unfortunately, we'll put a lot into personal development to get to the top or reach the goal, but then we'll stop going to the gas station to fill up once we're on top, not realizing that, the car gonna stop. Then when the car stops, we're confused as to what the problem is. Here's the thing. Even when we get to the top, there are levels there too. So personal development, i.e., continuous improvement, should always be a part of our overall goals and plan. Continuous improvement is one of my core values for every business. Because I always want to get better at baking cakes. I always want to get better at whatever I'm doing. Even though cakes is just a hobby for now. But I always want to get better at coaching. I always want to get better at whipping body butter. I always want to get better. No matter what it is, I always want to get better. There's always room. But here's one of the most pivotal things that we don't realize. Personal development includes some things that we got to work on for life, like emotional regulation, attachment styles, forgiveness. We always going to deal with these areas. So we should be reaching for another level of maturity in these levels at these areas at all times. But when we stop working on ourselves, we are in great danger. But it's so easy to do so because when you're on top, you feel like, yeah, I'm here now. I got it now. No, comfort is the enemy to progress. So be careful in getting comfortable. Be content, but not comfortable in your progress. Okay. So whether it's a class that you take every so often, a book that you read, a video that you watch, or something, you should be educating or advancing yourself, learning something new about you, learning something new about how to do things better. So, how does your personal development need to change for you to achieve this particular goal? Okay. Next is conflict resolution. Conflict is healthy, fighting is not. We have to learn how to handle conflict. Why? Because it's inevitable. Just as surely as we think and believe differently when we network and team up with other people to accomplish these goals, because we're not an island. We need people, relationships, networks, all of that. Guess what that brings out? Conflict. It's going to be conflict because you're going to think one way, they're going to think another way. However, conflict can bring out things that daily conversations may not. The problem is that we have to be willing to confront it, to deal with it. And sometimes we have to give people permission to tell us their truths so that we can fix the situation. But society has us believing that if there's any friction, we're not compatible. But that's not always true. Now, if it's too much friction, it's friction all the time, that's a different conversation. Okay? Different conversation. I remember a friend of mine telling me that her and her husband every now and then go to the show, but they go see different movies. And I'm thinking, what? I was way younger, but I was like, what? And she was like, look, I don't like scary movies, and he do, and I shouldn't always have to acquiesce to what he wants, and he shouldn't always have to come over to what I want. So sometimes we compromise, but then sometimes we just go to separate movies and we meet up afterwards, and then we going on to where where we gonna go. That's conflict resolution. Okay, conflict is inevitable, so we should all have a conflict action plan before we're upset, before we're emotionally driven. When you try to avoid conflict or you don't have a healthy way of handling it, you start popping off, going off, operating in emotions, disrespecting, saying a different, wrong thing, leading to offense and either unforgiveness or have to repent. And this happens in personal relationships and professional relationships, which is why we have 57% of people who leave jobs they love because of bosses they hate. All because we didn't take the time to learn conflict resolution. So, how does your conflict resolution skills need to advance or change, however you want to say it, for you to accomplish this particular goal or operate at this level? All right. Next up, communication. There is never a failure to communicate. That's one of the best classes I had on the collegiate level. Okay. He taught us so much, including the fact that there's never a failure to communicate because even our silence is saying something. There are so many aspects of communication, but if you are wounded, you will miss many of them, always trying to make your point. This looks like over talking. This looks like interrupting. This looks like shutting down and stomping away because you didn't get your way. This looks like a defensive posture. Your hands is balled up in a fist. Your arms is folded. You pissed off. This even looks like extended silent treatment as punishment. All of this is communicating something, but it's toxic. Further, it will not work at the next level. This is how many of us get something and can't sustain it. We simply have to grow up and learn to regulate our emotions so that we can have healthy conversations that lead to resolution and focus on what's right and not who's right. You also have to understand that if you are in a relationship for a long period of time, business relationship, partnership, friendship, you got to know that hard conversations will be required. There's no way around it. So there is a need to have a culture of vulnerability or a culture where truth without retribution or without you repeating it can be established. This means that you don't throw up a person's time when they were vulnerable in your face. because they trusted you with that. Otherwise, you may never get their truth again. So, how does your communication skill need to improve for you to accomplish this particular goal? All right. And last but not least, the twins, consistency and discipline. If you do not work on C and D, your overall grade will be an E. It will be an E, baby, and not an E for effort either. Okay, we have heard that consistency is the key, but it is not the only key. Actually, the whole point of consistency is to build. Build what? Build trust in yourself for showing up for you, build endurance, and build discipline. Meanwhile, as you're building, the consistency is feeding off of motivation when you have the right motives. This is why you have to check your why. Why are you doing this? Because if you're not doing it for the right reason, your why won't be strong enough to hold you, to feed that motivation. And so remember, you're building. While you're building up your, you're building up with consistency, you're building up discipline. So the consistency is feeding off of motivation. One day something happens, motivation's gone. But bam, discipline kicks in if you've built it right. So one day you don't feel like working out, but you tell yourself, so what? We doing it anyway. One day you want to eat ice cream, but you said, so what? We eating fruit. One day you want to call off work, you said, so what? We getting dressed and we going to work. Motivation will wane, even if you have the best motive. Why? Because we are prone to desensitization. I told you. It helps us survive. We adjust. So we geeked about the possibility of this new eating plan, but by week number 2 or 3, we like, yeah, well, I'm tired of eating that. Yeah, well, I'm tired of this. And if we didn't build properly while the motivation was high, we won't have the discipline when it leaves to hold and carry us as we're moving toward our goal. So these two are tough for everybody to attain and maintain. So the question is, how does your consistency and your discipline have to change for you to achieve the goal and maintain at this level? All right. If you don't know where you're going, you will end up someplace else. That's just the truth. And I know that this was a lot. This is why this is just part one. You will need some time to sit with your goals. You need some time to pray first. You need to develop the goals, and then you need some time to sit with your goals. Take them through this 10-point process. Remember, you don't need 90 goals. Okay, again, do you want to have 90 goals and achieve one or none, or do you want to have 3 to 5 solid goals and achieve all of those? Okay, and so after you run your goals through this process, we're scheduled to meet. It's looking like January 17th. Time will be decided for us to break those goals down because you can eat a whole elephant, but you cannot eat an elephant whole. You must do it one piece at a time. All right. So I hope this has helped. If you have any questions, you can email me here and we will convene for part two, January 17th, 2026. Online, you'll get more information if you follow my social media pages or send me an email. All right. I hope this was helpful and I want you to have a great day. You already know how. On purpose. God bless you.